Good day, my friends. Welcome to the morning edition of this thing of ours. And let's get down to brass tacks. It is wonderful today for the following focus. Let me see if we can jump in on this, and in no particular order. Let's just jump into this right off the bat. There is a story that is going on now, which is, I guess, interesting by virtue of Rudy and this book written by this Cassidy Hutchinson. You understand this? Now, this is one of the most interesting issues that I would like to bring to your attention. And apparently, there was a problem where I'm trying to read this one particular point. There is a story about Rudy Giuliani and this Cassidy Hutchinson. And what's interesting about this is if you go through this, the story is absolutely lunacy. Absolutely lunacy. And what's interesting about this, I'm sorry, I'm going to get this particular point. He is now, here we go. Daily Mail reports Rudy Giuliani shuts down Newsmax host while he asks about ex-White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson's groping allegations. Completely, absolutely false. Giuliani asked for comment, initially refused to reply. Then he said later on that has since said her claims were made to sell the memoir, but specifically he was on with this Eric Bolling, who was asking questions about this and the like. And one of the things which I think is interesting is if you look at the various stories and background of the individuals asking the question, you will find it most interesting as to the relevance. Now, before we get into this, Rudy's story is simply this. How am I groping you with all of this security around us on this freezing day when I'm sitting here, we're outside? He refuted specifically where he was. This was the same Cassidy Hutchinson, who, by the way, said that President Trump, she heard, grabbed the wheel of the car and said, come on, let's go back to the Capitol. That didn't happen, and that was refuted. And during her closed door or her 2-day testimony on January 6th, she never brought this up. And there were other things as well as different people, Cipollone and others as well. So here's the thing. While nobody is using the word liar, we have this level of mendacity, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm finding most troublesome. And nobody seems to be worried about the truth anymore. Nobody either bring or the truth or due process to be hit with something. I mean, this isn't a court of law. I understand. I recognize this. And Rudy Giuliani, they're having so much fun. There was this Borat instance. I don't know what that was about. I don't think Rudy Giuliani is necessarily looking. Let me try this. There we go. But there's something which is very bothersome about this. Let me go through a few things here. And please forgive me. I like to give you as much of the news as is. Breitbart has a very fascinating issue. And it says Cassidy Hutchinson, a star witness for the January 6th committee, whose claims were later discredited, now says in a book that Rudy Giuliani, who was a lawyer for President Donald Trump, groped her before the Capitol riot. She's making the claim as part of a promotion of her tour, Enough, which comes out next week. Notably, Hutchinson did not make these alleged claims during her testimony to the January 6th committee. She mentioned Giuliani only once during her 2 closed-door depositions to the committee. Hutchinson made several sensational accounts in her public and closed-door testimony, many of which were openly refuted, according to Breitbart, by other witnesses. Hutchinson's third-hand testimony of how Trump grabbed the wheel of his presidential limousine in an effort to force it to drive to the Capitol was rejected by the people who she claimed had told her about it. She also claimed that White House counsel Pat Cipollone made comments in the White House on a day when he was not actually there. And a lawyer disputed Hutchinson's claim that former White House lawyers had pressured her to change her testimony. In a footnote to the final report, Hutchinson was quoted as saying that she was unsure, after all, about her testimony regarding Cipollone. But that doesn't make any difference because she's blasting Rudy. And then Rudy goes on her show. Rudy goes on her show with this Eric Bowling, and he's talking about that. And Los Angeles Times reports that this was in 2017, sexual harassment investigations at Fox News had the network cut loose Eric Bowling, who was suspended on August 5th and was canceled. They looked at this, and he said that there were some investigations as to some type of improper sex pictures and the like. Okay, so some people are in, some people are out. So the point of all this stuff, this horrid and torrid, all of this nonsense, is why are people doing this other than just to get a gotcha moment? And we all know the answer. I just kind of answered my question. Now, again, Rudy Giuliani is not, nobody's saying he's a saint. Nobody says whatever it is. But do you not see what's happening? Now, let me give you another example of something which you may or may not think is relevant, but I do. There's a comedian named Hassan Minhaj, and he is a performance liar, apparently somebody would say. And there was a New York Times article that says that, comedy doesn't have to be true. You don't have to tell the truth in comedy. Okay, I got it. But he told a story about how there was somebody that had his mosque, somebody who might have been an undercover agent or something. And Minhaj apparently, according to the story, knew who he was and thought it'd be funny if he were to joke about it. Make the joke that he wanted to take flying lessons after 9/11 or something like that. Anyway, it never happened. The event never happened. None of it happened. None. And what's interesting is that he said, well, it may not be truth, but it's emotional truth. Now, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. But again, this is idea of what does the truth even mean? What does it mean to lie? And if Cassidy Hutchinson, this is the most important, if you are going to demonetize or remove people who say certain things, how can publishing houses and seemingly reputable publishers not suffer the repercussions if they are publishing something which is absolutely incorrect? How does this work? And what you're doing is you're being told over and over and over again. When people say that Bobby Kennedy said something when in fact he didn't, why should anybody pay attention to the truth? And I don't know if you had any chance yesterday to go through the testimony, the horrid, horrid testimony of our own Mr. Merrick Garland, but it was just, oh my God, absolutely incredible. The world is falling apart. Truth doesn't mean anything, but it's not so much the fact that the truth isn't important anymore. It's this double standard that I can't figure out. I don't know where it works anymore. I don't understand. If somebody says something that is a lie, if somebody makes a claim in one particular forum, why should another forum necessarily? One of these days, you're going to have phones canceled. You don't think I'm kidding? You're going to have a phone. You're going to be on your phone. You say, my cell dropped. Well, that's because you said something wrong about climate change or something. What? Yes. you were also texting. The cellular company does not want to be a part of promoting your mendacity. What? Yes, you can't. What? Now, if I told you that, if I told you somebody's cell phone was dropped because they had lied, you said that can't be. That's going to be next. That's going to be next. Because there's this throwing everything at the wall, and whatever sticks, if it sticks, it's fine. If it doesn't matter. There was another story that is the most important of anything, but it won't get the amount of coverage because I know it just doesn't warrant that. You know, there is the P5. This is the permanent committee. This is the permanent members of the UN Security Council. This is France, Russia, UK, and the United States, and China. They can veto anything. And then there's the PN+1, which is Germany. So these are the biggies, the P5. The US, Biden, was the only country to send a leader to the UN regarding the P5. The UN is over. It's done. It's finished. It's through. It doesn't make any sense. It's just not only a debating society, it's just nonsense. This is I was walking the other day right by the Hilton off of 6th Avenue. And lo and behold, there were more. You've got to see these big, black, gas-guzzling SUVs that, I mean, you got to ask yourself, why are they even here? Okay, aside from that. Next, they're reporting that there are hooker battalions, hookers, prostitutes, sex workers, whatever you want to call them, flying in to the various hotels. They can't go online. You can't look up escort services online because you basically, they set these women up as prostitutes, and then people will pimp them out. That's called human trafficking. Now, here's the best part. The women themselves are going to say, well, this is the idea of Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman, and it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that at all. Do you see what's happening here? I think you do. And it's fascinating, beyond fascinating. Now, everything is happening so quickly. There's another story which was incredibly interesting. Eric Clapton raised about $2 million for Bobby Kennedy. This is a new era in politics, a new era. And what you are seeing right now is you have to know where to look to see this business as usual kind of sort of whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. Congress, meetings, the Merrick Garland thing. I don't think it's going to make any difference to anybody whatsoever because, frankly, it's too hard for people to understand. And the whole Hunter Biden thing, nobody gets it. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's true. Nobody gets it. Nobody cares. It means nothing to these people. Nothing. They've heard all there is about Hunter Biden. They know all about Hunter Biden. Stop wasting our time on Hunter Biden. Stop it. Nothing will happen. There's an awful story, too, which is so sad. I don't know if he's doing this, if this is Sicilian flu or what. New York Post, confused Biden walks into a flag, then appears to anger Brazilian president with handshake snub. President Biden looked confused again Wednesday as he walked into a giant flag at the UN, then appeared to anger Brazil's president by walking off stage without shaking his hand. The gaffe-prone oldest U.S. president in history walked into the 7-foot Brazilian flag as he took the stage, taking a moment to get his bearings as the flag wobbled. Yet again, another example of the laughingstock that is the United States of America. Do you see what is happening here? Do you see? There is a momentum. How that translates is another story. Let us hope that this is the end of the UN. Think about this. China, just, by the way, in France, they had their big celebration with the president. He wasn't even there anymore. China, France, Russia, the UK, and the United States. China says, I don't even know what this is. What are you talking about? Global what? Now, here is the next part. And this is the thing that is the most important to notice. You will hear people repeatedly remind the world of this thing, the necessity of, the problem of, the criticality of climate change. They will talk about it repeatedly. They will talk about it, how it's imperative, how something must be done, how it has to be addressed, how it poses an existential threat. Do any of you folks have any idea as to how that happens? Do any of you, dear friends, have any idea as to how that happens? Do you? Anyone? Any idea? What are we, more importantly, what are we supposed to do? Tell me, what are we supposed to do? That's the critical part about this. That's the part that I want to understand. That's the issue. What are we supposed to do? It's one thing if you say, AIDS is a problem. What do? We stop AIDS. Prevention, treatment, research, got it. Stop cancer, got it. Flooding, got it. Littering, immigration, whatever. There's always something you can point to. Stop it. Build barriers, whatever it is. Provide a disincentive to come, fine. What is the thing they want us to do precisely with global warming? Can you tell me? I can't. And it's not because I'm being impertinent. It's not because I'm trying to. I, honest to God, I do not know. I do not know what I'm supposed to do. Nobody will tell you. Now, what people suggest, what has been the long-time subject for years, is that when you say something involving climate change, and by the way, I don't know about you, but I think if climate change is bad, if things are melting, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing. I also don't know if there's anything I can do about it per se, but I don't think it's a good thing. I'm not trying to dispute it if things are getting warmer. However, I am not a climatologist. I am not someone who necessarily understands specifically what all of this means, and I am pretty much beholden to scientists and the like. And what is interesting about this is they don't make the connection. But one of the things which is very important is that if I create this fear, if I create this existential catastrophe called climate change, I can do a number of things. Number one, I can have track and tax, cap and trade, carbon trading, carbon exchanges, carbon economy, carbon billionaires, carbon. I can tax countries. I can be having new exchange where people are given carbon allotments and then you exchange the allotment at the end of the year because you don't use as much. Countries. Now, if the world doesn't comply with this, what does it matter? China is not going to be a part of any of this. So what's the point? It's like in the old days, it's like having no smoking sections in airplanes. What's the point of this? Nobody will tell you, but it's fascinating. And what's even more fascinating is how so many people are being told specifically that all they have to do is just repeat the mantra and they will be politically accepted and alike. Okay, that's number one. Another story. This is happening. This is incredible. I posted on my Twitter at Lionel Media. Scenes from Ottawa, where thousands of parents and kids are protesting explicit sexual content in schools and radical gender ideology. Protests are absolutely massive and across the entire country. It's called 1 Million March for Children. This is extremely interesting and extremely important because of a variety of reasons. This is going to show you that what you are seeing in this country is not necessarily only a part of us. It is a part of the world. It is a part of the world, and it's not just an American thing. That's what I'm telling you. It's not just an American thing. Let me stop you for 1 second, my friends. Let me also ask you, please, to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for the metrics, for subscribing, for liking the videos. Liking these videos are so important. And also, have you contacted preparewithlionel.com? Have you taken advantage of a $200? This is a special, a $200 special where you take $200 off a 3-month emergency food kit. Have you done that? Are you doing that? Order now. I don't ever like sounding the doomsayer. I don't want to say the end is nigh, or Louis nigh for the minute, but I will tell you that before you know it, as sure as you hear, do you hear all of the climate emergency? You have climate emergency talk. You have an election coming up. You have Gavin Newsom positioning himself. Now everybody is saying what I have been telling you for years. And what would really make the transition easier, what would really explain it best to people, is if we had something catastrophic, something that really made people go crazy. If all of a sudden there were supply chain problems, basically due to climate change, due to unrest, due to Rudy Giuliani's groping, whatever the particular reason, this would put more people over the edge and would make them more prone, more, I don't want to say tendentious, but more in line, more able to say, you know what, there's something to be said for this. There's something to be said. My friends, go to preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. This is a deal that is not going to last forever. Food emergency, you can't put this off anymore. It's just that simple. Preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. Okay. I want to go back to what I was saying before. You have a tendency, as do most people, to try to assuage your own fear. This isn't as bad as we think it is. Well, this isn't really the end of the world. Okay, it's bad, but what are you gonna do? I understand people think that way, and I understand people have a tendency to believe that. Lionel merch, by the way. This is, depending upon how you see it, so bad and so horrible, I don't know how to put it into words. Let me give you an example of something. One of the reasons why diabetes is such a pernicious disease is it is oftentimes asymptomatic. You don't feel it. You don't notice it immediately. You don't say, oh my God, my numbers are up. I mean, you might, but you don't oftentimes. High blood pressure, hypertension is asymptomatic sometimes. You don't feel bad, but it's dangerous because of what is happening underneath. What is happening in the case of diabetes to renal systems and eyesight, anything involving vasculature. Okay. What is happening right now is setting the stage for future problems, but a future reset of the world. Notice how Klaus Schwab is nowhere to be found. Have you noticed how Klaus Schwab, you haven't heard him lately? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how George Soros, it's the son who's involved? Do you see what's happening right now? They're kind of repositioning, they're retooling their message, and they know how it's coming across. Somebody got to Klaus and said, this creepy, mini-me, this is weird. This is just strange. Stop doing this. Soros is too old. Now it's his son. There is another myth that Barack Obama is calling the shots, that he's the architect of the future, that he's orchestrating what is happening in the world, that he's no way. Absolutely no way. He might be the liaison. He might be passing on orders, but he is not calling the shot. This is something different. And you have to know what to notice, and you have to know what's going on. And that's why this election is so critical. Beyond critical, you have no earthly idea. Here's some other good news. which I think is interesting in a way. Good news to an extent. But I find this is fascinating. CNN, where was this? CNN, which bills itself, of course, as the most trusted name in news, totaled 55,000 viewers. Let me say this again. Just 55,000 viewers for its weekend slate of shows. It included State of the Union with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash and Fareed Zakaria, GPS. 55,000. Do you see where this is going? Do you see where this is headed? How this works? There's a very interesting article in this, I think it's in New York or something, by Michael Wolff about Fox and Murdoch, because people like it's like Succession and things he said about Tucker. How he knows these things, I will never understand. I will never understand. You are seeing something which is so important. I want you to listen carefully. You are seeing an absolute revolution in terms of how information is provided. Recently, I had a meeting. This is how I had a meeting with somebody who you might consider to be, if you looked at this person, you might consider him to be a typical Hollywood lefty. Okay. And I heard, I'm not going to take the context of the meeting, but it was almost like, not really a pitch, but just things, issues of comedy occurrence that may or may not be newsworthy or whatever it is. In any event, this person said things that are so, as you would say, conspiratorial at levels I never thought even remotely possible from a human being. Do you understand this? It is so fascinating to see the number of people who don't believe anything that is going on. And by the way, we need more likes, as Liz Solak brings up. We need more likes, ladies and gentlemen. It pains me. It's somewhat embarrassing for me to say, please like this, please. I need 500 likes. I need this. Many times people watch this later on. I understand it. That's great, and we appreciate that as well. But this is a metrics game right now, and I'm not going to go into the specifics of what I believe that is about. But in any event, so your likes are critical, and we appreciate that. But do you know how many people believe what we believe in? More than you will ever know, and believe beyond that. It's very simply this. The story that you're being provided is not real. The story that you're being provided is not true. The history, the occurrences, the relevance, the news, the platforms is not true. It's jaded, it's contaminated, it's biased, it's wrong. And nobody, and I mean nobody, and nobody is buying what's going on right now. And it's so interesting to sit back, and if you were to walk into any cable news and say, do you recognize the irrelevancy, and the irrelevance, I should say, of the UN, exhibited by the P5 and others, they would look at you and they would say, I do not know what you're even remotely saying. I don't know what you're saying. I have no clue as to the P5 or I don't know who these I don't know who these people are. Okay. That's where we are. It's like nothing imaginable. Nothing imaginable. What we are seeing is so, there are people who say, I don't buy this anymore. And they're not necessarily they're not, tinfoil hatters and things like that. They're not from the usual suspects. They just always suspected that what they're doing, what they're hearing is not the truth. And the thing about it that the Democrats know that Biden it is just over. And it's a matter of time. It's just how do we transition this and do this smoothly, because it is over. And we have been saying this. And when Karine Jean-Pierre was on some show and they say, why doesn't he go anywhere? Will he go? And it could be because he's too enfeebled or whatever it is. So what I'm saying to you, dear friends, is hold on to your hat. Please be aware of what is happening. Hold on to your hat and understand that we are talking about something right now. This is a revolution, the likes of which we have never seen this. Now, right now, I want you to make sure you go to this link. This is Mrs. L's YouTube channel. What you are hearing and I promise you, and go to her Twitter channel at Lynn's Warrior on X. I keep saying Twitter. I can't say X. What she is pointing out and showing is beyond anything you could even ever imagine. Truly, it is beyond anything anybody could imagine. So I say that to you, dear friends. I say that to you, and I bring that to your attention immediately and instanter. I bring that to your attention, if that makes any sense. Very, very critical, very, very important. Please do that. One more time. There it is. Also, focus on this. Make sure every day you control the news you want to hear. You be your own news director. Do not wait for people to give you the news stories. Make sure you go to citizen, civilian, alternative, and foreign media outlets. Make sure you understand and you determine the curriculum. You are self-taught. You are an autodidact. I'm telling you, please do this. Please. It is the most important thing in the world. Sparky says, keep on trucking, Lionel. Absolutely. I'm going to keep on trucking, all right. Also, let me remind you, our dear friends at mypillow.com are always, always, always availing themselves in you of every kind of incredible, oh my God, these wonderful sales, and it's seemingly endless. So go to go to mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, and sign up also for this wonderful free gift. No obligation, no purchase necessary. And also, my friends, can't say this enough, can't put it into words enough. Emergency food. Hello, opportunity is knocking. They're saying this is your entree. Save $200 off a 3-month emergency food kit. 25-year shelf life, 21 brands, breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, everything. 120 pounds of food in 6 containers. Ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and your family. Immediately go. All right, dear friends, have a wonderful day, a great day. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for sharing your morning. We'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe. I got more videos coming regarding the goings-on of the day. So please, I ask you right now, please don't do anything but comment as you see fit. And more importantly, remember these words: the monkey's dead, the show's over, sue ya, dead. Try it again.